Ladies and gentlemen, I will have a live stream Thanksgiving evening at around 8 p.m. Pacific time. So be here about maybe 7 or 8 p.m. Pacific time. So be here this evening. You'll watch this on Thanksgiving Day, hopefully, and just have a happy and safe and wonderful Thanksgiving. I'll also have a segment at around 9 a.m. Pacific. 9 a.m. Pacific, that's very important on this channel. And I'll have a live stream at around 7 or 8 p.m. Pacific. So be there for the live stream. Hit subscribe. This is actually fantastic news, and I'll explain why it's so important. Republican House majority climbs to, it's going to be 222 Republicans when you include Lauren Boebert and you include California's 13th district. The Republican will win there. And they got one in Alaska, so it'll be about 213 to 225. They're going to impeach Hunter. They're going to impeach Joe. Okay? Here's the funny thing about Democrats and the Democratic Party. They relied on Twitter to suppress, silence, prevent any dialogue. Any dialogue at all pertaining to the hundreds of millions of dollars in business deals and money that Hunter was able to acquire for Joe. Okay, you have graft, potential bribery schemes. You have emails saying, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? If Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump had any of those types of emails, along with the 150 suspicious activity reports that Hunter and everyone around Joe have, okay, that 150 times banks have stated there's a suspicious transaction, almost always involving other countries, and millions upon millions of dollars going into businesses or shell companies started by Hunter. So that was all swept under the rug. That was all suppressed, silenced. We couldn't talk about it. And now they won't have Twitters. You have to understand, going into 2023, Joe's going to get, mashed potato brains is going to get impeached. It's going to be because of Hunter. Well, it's going to be because of the graft and bribery schemes. You have emails, actually, with other people asking Hunter to influence Joe, and then you have Joe forcing out a prosecutor. That's just one example. You don't have this with Trump. They went after Trump in Georgia and New York. Federal government, this is a second special counsel now, January committee, and also Mar-a-Lago raid. They haven't indicted him. Why haven't they indicted Trump? Because he didn't commit a crime. Why haven't they indicted Hillary or Hunter? Because they did commit crimes, but that's not the way Democrats roll. James Comey, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, you can hear on this channel. Watch the short on this channel. He stated no reasonable prosecutor would indict. So, but there were potential violations of the legal statutes pertaining to the handling of classified data. Clinton was siphoning classified data and top secret intel and special access program intelligence outside of the United States government on servers. Now, most Democrats don't even want Biden to run again. Okay, that's the Democratic Party for you. Democratic Party is composed of very highly educated, wonderful, morally superior, liberal Democrats who have a shield, cloak, a force field of cognitive dissonance. You can actually show them the New York Post and Daily Mail and Federalist articles showing them that money was flowing into Hunter and there was suspicious activity reports, 150 of them, not one for Trump, but you have 150 times banks said, yeah, this is bizarre. And emails with people asking Hunter for help. And then Joe forcing out a prosecutor right after or right around the time that email was sent out. How can you use your influence on the company's behalf? And then in that country getting invaded while Democrats are in office, everything bad was supposed to happen when Trump was in office. It didn't. When Democrats tanked their state economies, that wasn't Trump's fault his last year. And the hysteria, like everything that Democrats pushed for Trump's last year in office has proved to be a catastrophic failure. From shutting down economic activity to, you could just Look at how Democrats reacted. Look how they reacted the first year of Joe's presidency. More people lost their lives, and suddenly there was no federal solution to it. But you have even Jeff Bezos now saying, yeah, the economy is going to get worse. Real wages are down 8.5%. Inflation is going to tick up. They say inflation went down. Energy, rent, and food went up. And it's going to continue to go up. And oil prices globally will go up. And you have a situation where we'll have a much worse recession in 23. We had a recession in 22. We'll have 2 years with a recession each year, unfortunately. And the reason that the GDP went up in the third quarter is because of arms exports and arms and oil exports. Okay, but you look, ladies and gentlemen, and inflation is cutting into everyone's pocketbook. The economy is really barely growing. It was actually shrinking before last quarter. The stock market has been inflated and pumped up beyond belief, and it's going like the Nasdaq's already down 30%. So I told everyone the market would crash. The Nasdaq did crash. The Dow is on its way to completely crashing, unfortunately. You have FTX investigations, Sam Bankman-Fried, Hunter, Joe will get impeached. We're going into 24. The next 2 years, the pendulum will swing towards Trump Republicans, and people like Mitch McConnell will actually lose influence and power. The more, like, you have to understand, what Trump did during this midterm was wrestle control of the House of Representatives away from Trump, away from never Trumpers. Okay, even the Democrats in the January committee are now after Liz Cheney because they said that she made it all about Trump, which is interesting. I thought that's what the committee was all about, but now they're going after her. So I'll do a segment tomorrow morning on this. Democrats have turned on Liz Cheney, which is absolutely hilarious. But you look, ladies and gentlemen, you have to ask yourself, never Trump Republicans they're holding on, they're scratching and clawing. They're not going to be able to continue to hold on to power. Mitch McConnell will eventually be replaced. The House of Representatives is now a Trump Republican House of Representatives. They're going to go after Hunter, impeach Joe, and look up, investigate FTX, all of that. The pendulum is swinging towards Donald Trump. We had record low unemployment, and we had record highs in household median income in 2019 with Trump. We had real wages up 1.1%. We have real wages down 8.5%, according to the Dallas Fed. And you have interest rates that have gone up. Everyone's paying more for credit cards. The housing market is tanked. And you look and it's like, well, why do people vote Democrat? You can look at what's taking place with Tim Pool and TYT. You have two hosts on that channel. By the way, they got $20 million from venture capital funding. You have the two hosts there, and this is the mentality, the mindset of why morally superior liberal Democrats vote Democrat. All they did against Tim Pool was accuse him of things he never said, things he never did, and they truly believed it. This is like this. It was like a diatribe, this tirade. I don't even know how it's even allowed, but it's this tirade of two hosts on that channel against Tim Pool, stating that because he was somehow linked to the atrocity, that horrible tragedy that took place, and it's like all you heard, there was nothing logical. It was all hyperbolic non sequiturs. And it was literally the definition of a meltdown that had no bearing on reality, where they accused Tim Pool of everything under the sun, but they couldn't prove any of that in a court of law. And then they bring up a billionaire New York Democrat who gave hundreds of thousands to Democrats over the years and tried to say that this person is somehow a Republican. It's like, no, that person who's no longer alive, who committed unspeakable atrocities, is a Democrat from New York and was protected by a Democratic Party machine, okay? And he gave to Chuck Schumer and Bill Clinton, and all of those people voyaged with him. Well, Bill Clinton did. But anyway, so it's like, And he was a New York Democrat. But the point is, it's like they scratch and claw, just like Never Trumpers. They scratch and claw to try to find some kernel of truth that they could use to leap, to make that absurd leap of logic and go after Tim Pool in this case. Okay? And they truly either pretend to believe it or they believe the hysteria. And they call Republicans monsters. But they're actually accusing Tim Pool, Republicans, of things that they never did. They make leaps, absurd leaps of logic. That's the only way Democrats vote Democrat, with absurd leaps of logic. It's objectively worse, the economy is, than under Trump. The foreign policy is objectively worse. We're talking about nuclear annihilation in Europe, potentially. It's objectively worse. But to Democrats, they just want to feel that they're morally superior. And that's not going to, in terms of the 223 in the House, that's not going to work anymore, because when you have Democrats always on the defensive, they're not good on the defensive. They're good at, in terms of investigating and accusing Trump and making absurd leaps of logic and then believing those absurd leaps of logic like they did with Tim Pool. Okay? What Democrats do is they get themselves into a frenzy believing things that aren't true while at the same time complaining that other people believe things that aren't true. And so things could be absolutely worse now, objectively, in terms of the economy and foreign policy. But you know what? Trump is the embodiment of all evil. Why? Well, because we accused him. Even though there's evidence that Joe participated in felonies. And we're going to find that out in 2023. The pendulum is swinging, ladies and gentlemen. The pendulum has swung towards Trump Republicans, away from the Never Trumpers and away from Democrats. And pretty amazing time in terms of Thanksgiving. You got to give thanks at least for that. But, you know, most importantly, obviously, you give thanks for your life, your family, your health. And God bless you all. Thank you so very, very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow morning at around 9 a.m. For a very important upload. And be here today around 8 p.m. Pacific or so for the live stream.